I'm perfect just as I am. In my head. Hello everyone, welcome to In My Head. Two quick things. The first, I am from the United States of America, so if you're from a different country or a different culture, the things that I say here, they may not apply. The same for you. The second, I am not a licensed professional. What? Curing narcissism? It can't be done. Impossible. I've never seen a narcissist be cured. Well, here on In My Head, I give my take on mental health topics, and I'm very interested in this topic of narcissism and whether or not it can be cured, so let's dig into it together. Now, before I get into everything, there is one thing that I have to say, and that is if you are somebody who right now is in a place of hurt and you're still healing from things, I'm going to kindly ask you to please leave. Narcissistic personality disorder and narcissism in general is a mental health issue, and I will not be stigmatizing people who have mental illness problems. There are plenty of other places where you can go if you want to have an emotional discussion about this topic and to bash on people who have a mental illness, but I will not be doing that. Now, with that said, let's start by defining what narcissism is. Narcissism is normal and it's healthy. We are all narcissistic sometimes. It's a defense mechanism. It's a way of coping with the stress and anxieties that life brings upon us. No, hold on. Check out what I just did. I know I could kick your ass in this game. If we're going to talk about narcissistic personality disorder in particular, a personality disorder has to do with a collection of personality traits. Everybody has personality traits. Personality traits are a pattern of the way that we live in the world, a pattern of the way that we behave, and a pattern of the way that we relate to other people and relate to our own emotions. This pattern is pervasive, it's consistent, it's the general way that we go about things, and that way it looks like it's something that it can't be changed. However, you can change your personality traits. And through changing your personality traits, you can change your personality. Specifically, when we're looking at narcissistic personality disorder, the two maladaptive or not so great personality traits that we're looking at are the traits of attention seeking. Wait, but let me tell you about my day. And grandiosity. I know everybody here is upset, but my needs are more important right now. The big obstacle with somebody with narcissistic personality disorder or with personality disorders in general is that they have to want to change. So there's a few things that we need to look at if we want to look at what's going to motivate somebody with narcissistic personality disorder or with narcissistic personality traits to want to change those traits. Because remember, they are lasting. They are the pattern that somebody's been running, possibly for their whole lives. One thing that we may want to look at when it comes to these personality traits is how much insight does the person have to the disorder that they may have? Do they know that the way that they behave is not normal? Do they know that it's not the way that people typically interact with other people? Do they know that it's hurting other people? Do they know that it's hurting themselves? All of this could kind of be put under the umbrella of insight. And if somebody lacks insight or if they have difficulty seeing why they should want to change something, then they're going to have a harder time having their narcissism cured. I like to show off, so what? Another factor that we may want to look into when it comes to curing narcissism is what is the person's severity level? How bad are the symptoms? How bad are these personality traits? In other words, do they have other ways of coping with stress, or is this it? That's all they got. If the person doesn't have alternative ways to deal with stress and anxiety, they're going to always go back to the ways that have worked for them, or at least appear like they're working for them, which are these narcissistic traits. I know that I make everything about me, I just don't know how to stop. Something else that's important to consider when it comes to narcissistic personality disorder and seeing if there's a cure is how much pain is this person in? Pain is like the biggest motivator when it comes to personality traits, or at least that's something that I found personally for myself. Because our personality is the way that we do things in the world, and it's just the way that we're typically used to things, it's going to take a lot of effort to change that. And we don't usually change things when we just like kind of want them. We're not really sure if we wanted to make a change. We change things when we put in the effort, because you need to change the habits of using these personality traits to cope with things. Usually what's going to motivate you to change is pain. I'm sure you can think of a time in your life when you didn't really want to do something necessarily, but because it was so painful, you said, I've got to do something, I have to change, I have to make a different way in life. And I think that one of the things that gets overlooked the most when it comes to personality disorders in general, including narcissistic personality disorder, is what are the people around that person doing to make it so that they're not feeling any kind of pain for their disorder. Now, I'm not advocating that we try to make somebody who has a disorder feel pain, of course not, but if there's never any boundaries or never any repercussions for their actions, then they're never going to feel any pain. They're never going to know that what they're doing isn't normal, and they're never going to know that there's any reason why it should be changed. I don't like driving people away. It makes me lonely. So I want you to stop and think about this for a second. Think about this for your own life. Have you ever changed a part of your personality? Are you the same person that you were 10 years ago, 20 years ago? I know I'm not. As life goes on, as we meet different people, as we have different experiences, we have more opportunities to learn about ourselves, to experience painful moments, and to decide whether the way that we've been living our lives is the way that we want to continue living our lives. It's usually these big moments in our lives, these big painful moments, that make us step back and reconsider if the way that we're doing things is the way that we want to keep doing them. And that is the prime opportunity for somebody with a personality disorder or these personality traits that aren't really helpful to reconsider if that's the way they want to live. And in those moments of great pain, the people around that person can do a great deal to shape how that person sees the situation and what they should do to move forward. This is why it's so important when we're in the middle of that deep pain that we go in to see someone like a therapist, a professional, not somebody on YouTube like myself, but somebody who knows what is healthy behavior and what is not healthy behavior so that they can guide you towards a better life. Now, some people will say, okay, yeah, a narcissist can change. Sure. No, they're just changing their behavior. They're not changing the inner workings and the motivations and all the important stuff. And I hear you. People make fake changes. People lie, of course. Like, that's duh. But until you've sat down across from somebody year after year, having intimate conversations with them and really understood the way they've struggled with things and the actions they've taken to change things, you don't know what is going on inside somebody's mind. Somebody who does know quite a bit about narcissistic personality disorder is Elsa Ronningstam. Elsa Ronningstam is a researcher who specializes particularly in narcissistic personality disorder. And if you want to know her thoughts on whether or not narcissism can be cured, I will link down below to the lecture where she gives an overview, a comprehensive, excellent overview of what narcissistic personality disorder is, and specifically I will put you at the time when she answers what does treatment look like for somebody with narcissistic personality disorder. Something that I found really interesting was that she noted that it's really difficult to standardize a treatment for somebody with narcissistic personality disorder because it manifests in different ways. You may have heard terms like overt and covert or grandiose and vulnerable. There's just different shades and colors to this stuff because every person is an individual with different experiences and different biology going on inside of them. But if you'd like to hear an actual case vignette, I have also queued up another video where she talks about a very specific case where I thought, okay, here's somebody in this exact session who sees insight to what's going on. She talks about a patient with narcissistic personality disorder who's having difficulty with something, and as the treatment progressed in that one session, you could see that the woman made a realization of why she felt the way that she did. And this is just like a little tiny slice of treatment. Obviously, I can't give you hours and hours and years of people's treatment to watch, but I wanted to highlight these examples because it will help you to see how there is a path to cure narcissism. Now, I want to put a little caveat at the end here, which is that when we say the word cure means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. For me, cure doesn't mean that your whole personality needs to be reconstructed and you have to come out the end as a totally different person. To me, cure just means that you need to be able to function in society, to feel happy about yourself, to know how to help other people feel happy, to have healthy relationships, in other words, and to function in life. That's kind of the basis of diagnosing mental illnesses and trying to treat them in the first place, is to help everybody function. Personally, I believe that everybody has the opportunity to change. All they have to do is put in the effort and seek treatment. Treatment can be very hard. In the case of personality disorders like narcissistic personality disorder, it's going to be long. It may take a few years, but it's worth it. Now, I know as a viewer, it feels like people never change. This is especially true if we're somebody who's experienced trauma before in our lives, because trauma has a way of shortening our view of things. Instead of seeing the 10 and 20-year change in people, we're only looking at it in a slice of a week, a month, a year. And when you look at anybody in that short amount of time, you're probably not going to notice a lot of changes, unless it's yourself, because you're around yourself all the time. But the thing is, people do change, and that includes people who have narcissistic tendencies. Narcissism can be cured. If you happen to be somebody who has seen these narcissistic tendencies in yourself, maybe you recognize that you have trouble with your own self-esteem. That seems to be at the core of a lot of narcissistic issues. I have some free worksheets over on my Patreon page. You may want to check those out, but of course I would recommend going in to see a professional who can really sort these things through with you. On Patreon, I get to support the people that I love doing work that they love, and I thank my patrons for helping to support me doing this and humanizing mental health. If you like learning about mental health, why not go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/RyanLiberty, hit subscribe. Now, if you're comfortable, I would like to hear from you. Have you ever gone through a period specifically where you have been attention seeking? I think that's something that most of us can relate to, where you felt needy, where you felt lonely, and you felt like you needed a lot of attention. What made you get through that period? Why was it temporary? Let's talk about that a little bit so maybe we can see why somebody who feels narcissistic might change. Thank you everybody for joining me here on In My Head. Look at me everybody, I'm cured!